In this video, we'll talk about a few different loops we can write in Python. The idea of a loop is to repeat a stretch of code multiple times. The most basic loop is a while loop. This is constructed much like an if statement. We write the keyword while, followed by a Boolean expression. In this case, we'll say the length of letters is less than 20, and then a colon, and then a new line. Whatever comes next should be indented and makes up the body of the loop. I'll just fill this out. Letters plus equals the letter O, then print out whatever letters currently is. And at the very end, we'll print end, followed by letters at the end of the entire loop. If I run this, it's going to hit the first line, setting up letters as an empty string. Now we hit the while loop and evaluate this comparison here. Right now the length of letters is 0, so that's definitely less than 20, so we go into the body of the loop. We add one O to the end of letters, and then we print it out. And now we've hit the end of the indented block, so we actually go back up to the beginning. We check this again. At this point there would be one O in letters, but the length is still less than 20, so we go through again, add an O, print it out. And we repeat, check, add, print, until the length of letters is 20 or higher. And then when we evaluate this, and this condition fails, we skip all the way straight to the end. Let's actually see it in action. You can see after each loop, we've added one more 0 and then printed it out. And at the very end, we have a very long string of O's. It's possible to write while loops that never actually end. If I copy this down here, and then change this condition to be true, this is never going to be false, so the loop is never going to end. I'm going to get rid of this intermediate print so that we don't print out a ton of lines to the notebook. But then if I run this, you can see there's this asterisk here. That means that the notebook is actually just thinking continuously. It's continually adding more O's onto the end of letters as fast as the computer can possibly go. And so right now there's probably millions, if not billions, of O's in this string. So let's stop it now. We can go to kernel interrupt, and this stops it. So now the asterisk is gone, and it says that we've done a keyboard interrupt to stop it from running. If we ever want to break out of a loop early, we can use break. This isn't really the best situation to demonstrate it in, but we can make this stop after 9 loops by checking the length inside of the loop itself. We can say if the length of letters is greater than 9, then we break. And that means that we immediately jump from the inside of this loop to the outside. So if I run this now, we can see it actually stops. The other loop to consider is a for loop. This is actually the more useful loop, and its main purpose is to loop over sequences. We can loop over a range of values by saying for I in range up to some number, then a colon, and move on to a blank line. Notice that this is Python's built-in range function. This is not NumPy's arange. They actually do pretty much the same thing and use the same arguments. There's only a slight difference in how they work, and Python's range tends to be a little bit better for writing loops. Let's make it so that for each one of these values we will print I. So the first time through this loop, I is going to be the first value in range 20, which is 0, and it's going to print out 0. The next time through, it's going to set I equal to the next value in the range, which is 1. It's going to print 1, and then it'll print 2, all the way up to, but not including, 20. And we can see that's exactly what happens. We can use for loops to compute a sum of all the values in a list. I'll make a list here of a bunch of numbers. I'll just fill this out really quick. We'll start our total value at 0. Then we'll use a for loop to go through all of the numbers in the list. For num in list. It's important to note here that this variable can be whatever you want to call it. For each number in the list, we want to add its current value to total. So we can say total plus equals num. And when it's all done, let's print out the total. We can see that the sum of all these values is 727. It's still easier to do this with NumPy's built-in sum function, but this is actually what's going on behind the scenes anytime you ask it to compute a sum. This has been a super quick introduction to loops, so I'd recommend doing some more research and practice writing some yourself.